is almost empty. That's just the way it goes. Gotta go on living with the life you chose. You're getting old, well, we're getting older too. These tracks are gone, and that train ain't coming through. That's why those bar stools are empty. There's no one left around. I hate drinking by myself, but I have another hour. You're still standing on the corner, the tavern by the tracks. Guess I'll sit here drinking till that train comes back. Yeah, guess I'll sit here drinking till that train comes back.
Uncle and nephew, and we had talked for quite a few years about starting a business together. We really had a bunch of ideas, but this kind of came to the forefront, and the property became available, and I think we really bought the property before we decided on exactly what we were going to do with it.
We were leaning towards a brewery, I would say, and we were leaning towards a New York State farm brewery. We're using a majority of New York State ingredients. So just because of the name New York State Farm Brewery and seeing this property, we still did kind of jump in maybe a little bit sooner than we were hoping to, but everything's worked out, and I think we made a fantastic decision on location.
I've been watching this property for probably 20 years, just deteriorating. It was abandoned, and it was an absolute disaster, but I always thought this could be a really interesting piece of property. So I thought it could be really a nice place, although it took a little bit of vision because it was really a disaster. And it was literally full of stuff, from floor to ceiling, not only in the basement, but up here. It took us, 2.5 years just to clean it out.
And in the house as well.
And in the old house, which we haven't repurposed yet, but we're going to.
So a lot of the decorations you see on the wall are actually remnants from when it was a working barn/farm.
We purposed what we could, yeah. Probably 95% of our decorations came from the place, or in the place somewhere.
And it made it easier as we were going through all the contents of the property. And we kind of just ended up making piles, like keep for the brewery, keep because they're cool, sell, whatever the case may be. And we've been able to use a lot of the stuff, but we still have more left over as well.
And 3 30-yard dumpsters.
That's true.
What?
3 30-yard dumpsters.
Wow.
Yeah, there was a lot.
We have 2 brewers. Mike Starks is our head brewer, and then John Weesey's our associate brewer. And Mike develops most of the recipes. John does some of them too, and they brew them together the first few times. And then John takes over with myself and another volunteer by the name of Bill Wright, who helps us out. And we got a great brewing team, and we're getting really great reviews on our product, which makes us really happy. So it's nice to hear, that we get great reviews. So I think when we first were going to open, Mike wanted to make a cream ale, and I'm like, no cream ales, because all I could think about was the cream ales we drank when
This is my grandpa.
I was a kid.
Cream ale, that's all he drank.
Right. So and I'm like, no, we're not going to have any cream ale, and he insisted, and turns out he was right. The first weekend we were open, it was first keg to kick, and it's been our best-selling beer ever since.
Yeah.
We do not distribute to stores. We don't bottle or can other than our single-fill growlers and crowlers, but we're in about 15 restaurants around the lake, 15 of the most popular restaurants.
That's the way to do it.
And so we distribute to them in kegs.
Yeah, it's all self-distribution at this point.
At this point, yeah, we make it, we deliver it,
Yeah.
we do it all.
But listen.
And we're bringing on more new customers in restaurants as we can. We kind of put a moratorium on it to try and keep up.
Sure.
And we were a little surprised by the volume. And quite honestly, we've never made a sales call. All those places have come to us. The loft originally, of course, went all the way across the barn and was a hay loft.
Okay.
And so we tore out half of it so we could get the brew house in there, which was quite a feat. And then we rebuilt we added back on probably another quarter of it, so we had some space up there.
It was close to 5 years, about 5 years from the purchase to opening the doors. The first few years, like Randy mentioned earlier, was really cleaning the place out and prepping it. And then it took a good year of, I'll say, some destruction and then a little bit of construction to get us really open.
Yeah, we were in the construction mode for a year,
Yep.
7 days a week. We would have never reached the end if it wasn't for a very dedicated crew of volunteers, very close friends. Some of these people put in not hundreds but thousands of hours.
Great.
So
free drafts for the rest of them.
they've been very gracious. They actually pay for their beer when they come in.
Yeah. November 2nd was our first day open. That day actually consisted, though, of just opening our downstairs, our kind of production area downstairs to our guests, and we actually just did growler fills for the first weekend while we worked on this beautiful tap behind us, and that took us the extra week, that in the bar, to get us open. So November 9th is when our full tap room was open.
We really lucked into this. It's exactly what we wanted, and our brewery consultant happened to get a text one night, and he was standing here, and he said, "Hey, this is for sale. Do you guys want it?" So we went and bought it and repurposed it and replumbed it. And I'd like to say we made it from scratch, but
It actually helped us tremendously, because how many different ideas did we go through for a couple weeks, and then this came around and like, this is perfect, and we really needed
Just
something to save us
done.
right then. Yeah.
done deal. So we had my friend Jack, who has the hop farm up the road, is a bit of a historian, and we asked him to research what happened on this land. In the mid-1800s, this was the largest employer in Chautauqua County was on this property. It was a basket factory. There's a dam on the big inlet over there. Well, what's left of the dam. This was a 7-acre mill pond on this property. So it supported a basket factory and then a sawmill and then a grist mill over the years. And so the property itself has a lot of history within the county. And then we've tried to tie like names of our beers to histories. If you noticed, we have one called Scott's Tavern Ale, not to be confused with a Scottish ale. John Scott opened the first tavern in Chautauqua County in Mayville in the 1800s. And so we, in little honor to John Scott, we named a beer after him.
That's fantastic.
And then our Mother Margaret's Irish Stout, Jack did a little more research and found that the second tavern in Chautauqua County was Lowry's Tavern, just up the road from Scott's Tavern. And the story goes that there were so many fights and such in Lowry's Tavern that they had to open the first court in Chautauqua County in Scott's Tavern, which now became the county seat over the years. So, but anyways, Mother Margaret came from Mr. Lowry was one of 10 sons of an Irish immigrant, so we named it after his mother, Mother Margaret. So we've tried to do a lot of history, and a lot of our beers have a lot of history.
So
No, this barn was erected in 1952.
So this was specific-
all those original buildings are gone, with the exception of that old house that we're going to repurpose into something at some point. It was the original house on the property. I've got pictures from early 1900s of that house, looking across the dam back at that house.
Wow.
Currently, we have 11 beers and 1 hard cider on tap. I'd say altogether we've probably brewed 15 or 16 different beers to this point.
And you cycle?
And we do cycle, some off, some on. We're going to be doing a harvest ale here shortly for the harvest season, using fresh hops from right up the road, 1.5 miles up the road. So we're going to do a fresh hop harvest beer. Got some plans to do a sour and some other things. We'll see what the brewers want to do.
Right.
And then it's hard though to decide what to take off. We've got quite a following on most all of them. So every time you take something off, somebody's unhappy.
Now, the fresh hops, does that have a different?
Yeah, so during the summer, we're generally open Tuesdays through Sundays, has been our what we've done this year at least. In the fall, we'll cut back to Thursdays through Sundays.
Okay.
And we'll probably evaluate Thursdays as time goes on. There's certain times of the year, at least based on our experience so far, that's been a little bit slower, but we expect to pick back up around snowmobile season, because we're also right off the snowmobile trail as well, which is a benefit to being
Did
here.
you know that when you?
Yes.
We did, yes, yeah.
One of the reasons this property was attractive to us was the snowmobile. The main trail is literally 300 yards up the road, and we actually developed a trail of our own through the woods here, so they don't have to come down the road and connect it to it. So we don't really know how it's going to work out, since there was a whole 4 days of trails last year were open, and that wasn't enough to get a good feeling for it. But they found us those days. They found us.
And now, do they produce?
We knew if we wanted to be successful, we'd have to be a year-round business, and we were concerned if we didn't have snowmobile traffic, what that would look like in the winter. But certainly, if we can get the right weather, that would be a great boost.
Quite honestly, we were fortunate. Our winter was way better than I expected.
Yeah.
Our fall and winter, we were really surprised.
Well, in a way,
We've got a really good local following,
that's what my question was. Is it just
Chautauqua County following, but we've also got a great following from, the people who have second homes here from Pittsburgh, New York, Cleveland, Cincinnati. We've got those people. We talk to them all when they come in. They say, "Oh yeah, we've just got a condo down the road, or we've got a cottage down the road, and this is going to be our spot now."
I was just going to say that.
And I will say the town was great to work with as we were going through the approval process for this. They really did help us out when we had questions to make sure we're in compliance with everything. They were very willing to answer those questions so that everything was done right the first time, as opposed to having issues later on.
Yeah.
Old man from the mountains coming home, home, home. But I better warn you, so I called him on the phone. Get ready, Joe the driver, if they be there alone. Old man from the mountains coming home. Walking with the sun, I call him tight his. I come in the sun, picking up my business. I know I will be there, so I call you today. Let you know the old man from the mountains on his way. The white hole, the old man from the mountains coming home, home, home. Thought I better warn you, so I called you on the phone. Get ready, Joe the driver, you better be there alone. The old man from the mountains coming home. Full head off, all for a dollar bill. I need a bunch of loving, so I'm coming down the hill. Don't want a friendly head race, rolling off my bed. And the old man from the mountains was said.
Buggy. I mean, come on. Bluegrass, Amish buggy going down the road. I'm gonna put a piece of hay in my teeth.